It's the Chris Salcedo Show. Glad you've tuned into the program, folks. Our telephone number here is 281-558-5738. 281-558-KSEB. Getting to your calls because we're going to tee up a lot of conversation with my next guest here because we've got a lot to talk about. Let me bring on. He's the host of Bolling. He's the host of The Edge with Eric Bolling. He is the author of 2 New York Times best-selling books, Wake Up America and The Swamp, exposing the dangerous drift away from America's core values, freedom, family, and individual opportunity. He is the one and only Eric Bolling. My man, welcome back.
Well, really good to be back with you, Chris. It's an honor, as always, to hang out with the liberty-loving Latino, which I thought I was, but...
You're an honorary liberty-loving Latino, that's for sure. So look, the SAVE Act, there's a whole, the machinations behind all of it, the whether or not Thune and the Senate's on our side, the Senate Republicans are on our side. Just give us 30,000 feet. How are you reading the SAVE Act and the Republicans' inability to put it over the finish line?
Well, it's a tough one. I'm watching cryptocurrencies melt down. I'm watching gold and silver gyrate like I've never seen. Remember, I go back 30 years trading these things. Right. Never seen movement like this. I was there the tail end of the original silver when the Hunt brothers from Texas tried to corner the silver market, and it ended up disastrously for them. We haven't seen volatility in metals markets like that since then, and this probably is going to outpace that. That said, Bitcoin falling out of bed, cryptocurrencies falling out of bed. There's so much uncertainty about the SAVE Act and the Clarity Act. These are two things that are trying to, I guess, save or put a bid underneath the cryptocurrency market. It's too soon to tell. I do believe, I'm a very firm believer in crypto. I think crypto is going to be the way of the future. I don't think John Thune, or actually don't even think Mike Johnson are America First Trump Republicans. I think they're both rhinos. I think they claim to be because it's politically expedient for them to say, "Oh, yeah, I'm pro-Trump," but I don't think they are. And my concern is that they're worried about their long-term future when Trump was out of office, more so than what Trump wants to get done right now. Now, love Trump, hate Trump, whatever you stand on that kind of array. He seems to see the future better than most people. I'm a Wall Street guy. I thought tariffs would take the economy down. I'm not convinced they're not going to hurt the economy long run, but he saw it and is something that we needed to do. I think he wanted to do it for his power globally. But he sees things in almost a 3D chess kind of way. And you wouldn't think of it because when the people who hate him will say he's not very intelligent. I'll say he may not have a book smart or an IQ smart, but the guy he's somehow made himself the most feared, revered, and powerful human being that's maybe ever walked the earth.
He knows human nature. And that is, our founding fathers had an insight to human nature, and he knows which buttons to push. Tariffs are a mechanism to get better trade deals. That's how I view it. And we have better trade deals as a result. Let me play John Thune. Here's what he says that may be more important than safeguarding through the SAVE Act American elections, our most sacred right. Listen to him.
Well, I guess, and I would just remind people that the coin in the realm in the Senate is floor time. There's a finite amount of it. And we have a lot of things we have to do. There's a housing bill that's awaiting action, hopefully a market structure bill, possibly permitting reform, farm bill, highway bill.
Yeah. So these are all things that John Thune says are more important than safeguarding our vote.
There's nothing more important than safeguarding our vote. I mean, it's literally the way policy is made in America. Again, these clowns in D.C., the swamp, my first book was a swamp. The minute they're elected, they're looking for a reelection. They're trying to figure out how they're going to get reelected, whether it's 6 years in the Senate or 2 years in the House. They're not working to better our communities, to better their constituents' lives. They're trying to figure out how they can stay there and save their own asses act. Sorry about that.
83% of Americans back voter ID. Anybody who puts SAVE Act across the finish line, you know what I call that? Electoral landslide, dude.
You know what you do, Chris? Maybe it's not queued up, but CNN had that guy Enton. He's their wall board guy. Stands in front. Yeah. It's across every minority.
I know. I got that soundbite buried in here somewhere. Yeah.
70-something% of African Americans, 80% of Hispanics are wanting voter IDs. I mean, when the minorities who the left's claims are going to be somehow disenfranchised by voter ID, by using ID to vote, when those groups are saying, no, you're wrong, they're completely off base.
You asked for it. Here it is.
Good.
I got it. Listen.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of Black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country.
Yeah. Ta-da.
CNN. CNN. It's not news hacks or anywhere else. It's CNN. And there's a really nice win here for Trump and Kash Patel and not Kash Patel, Pam Bondi. Why don't they pass along? We'll see where Republicans really are on the floor of the House and the Senate. Pass a law or try to pass a law that says if you're illegal and you vote, you've broken, you're going to get deported. Your whole family's going to get deported, and you will never be allowed reentry into America under any circumstance. That alone will limit the amount of fugazi voting that goes on.
Somebody suggested to me that if Trump proposed a law that said that you can become a U.S. citizen automatically if you vote Republican.
Yeah. Well, the problem is there are too many rhino Republicans that don't want Trump to have that, so they would take. But this is one that, when you look at those stats that the CNN guy just put out there, even minorities in this country legally are in favor of, immediately deportation. Anyone that's caught voting as non-citizen yet voting, and your family goes with you, and you're not allowed back in.
Over 3/4 of the nation, regardless of your skin color, supports voter ID. Why? Because it's common sense. The filibuster, the Democrats are saying the minute they get back in power, they're going to do away with the filibuster. Is there any excuse for John Thune to keep it?
No. I mean, if Trump wants to do away with it, John Thune doesn't do what Trump wants to do. John Thune doesn't do what America First people want to do. He doesn't recognize MAGA. John Thune does what he and the other rhino Republicans, they're a dying breed, Chris. I don't know why they're holding. I don't know why Trump pushed for these guys. I mean, he literally pushed for Mike Johnson and John Thune to get these respective seats. I know it's a caucus vote amongst themselves, but Trump helped those guys get those seats, maybe because he thought they'd play ball a little bit better. My problem with especially Mike Johnson, he hangs out with Trump, he goes to the UFC fights, acts like he's his pal, and he won't cauterize any. He won't bring these things to the vote. These executive orders. I mean, some of these English is a primary language is a no-brainer. Put in a penalty to burn the U.S. flag, and Trump has signed them as executive orders, and Johnson won't bring it to the floor because he doesn't want to hang some of his fellow rhino Republicans out who don't want to vote for that.
I'm so sick and tired of Republicans protecting rhinos because for some reason that's what they do. Eric Bolling is our guest right now, folks. He is the host of Bolling and also the host of The Edge, which is I'm going to ask him to describe that here toward the end of the interview. It's something. It's a new endeavor for him, and there's a lot of material he's generating here in a short period of time. 700 ICE agents leaving Minnesota. Tom Homan says that his agents are now given access to the jails so they can get the criminal illegal aliens who have deportation orders on them, who've committed serious crimes in the country. Who do you think won here? Was it Americans or was it the left?
The left, like a slam dunk win. When Jacob Frey, mayor of Minneapolis, says, "Get the F out of here, ICE," and Tim Walz calls Trump Gestapo Hitler, and when anyone who supports Trump are Nazi youth, and then they demand ICE leaves, and ICE leaves, and they send Tom Homan in there wearing a suit instead of maybe wear some khaki, wear like a military uniform or something. And then they send off what they call him, Little Napoleon, the Bovino. They send him away. For whatever reason, Trump stood down in Minneapolis, and it's so unlike Trump. It's not what MAGA wants. It's not what America First wants. And the rest of the country is going, I'm not sure that was a win. I think it was a loss. I think that Trump backed down, cannot I don't know what the metric is. Someone convinced him to do it. I think it was a loss.
Yeah, somebody convinced him. The same people that convinced him that it was probably unwise to stick to a lot of his policies in the midterms. Oh yeah, the midterms. People are really up in arms. We've got to play for the midterms. So they're convincing him to go against his political instincts, which has always been a disaster for President Trump. Let me play something from CNN, because as you may have heard, in Texas we had Senate District 9, which was a Trump plus 17 district, went Democrat plus 14, huge swing. Now, you don't hear much about Alabama, which was that the Republican there won 83% to 15% over the Democrat, adding to a heavily Trump district already. Nobody's talking about that, but they are talking about in red Texas, this Senate District 9. And this is from CNN. Listen to them.
Yeah, Donald Trump made huge gains in 2024 versus 2020 in New York. But now we're looking at a huge Democratic rebound. What are we talking about here? Okay, so you go back, Democrats' margins in New York. In 2024, Kamala Harris won New York by just 13 points. Not a very wide margin at all. But take a look here for New York. Look at how the House Democrats going for the House of Representatives are polling now for 2026. Look at that wide, huge advantage. That is doubling the margin that Kamala Harris had back in 2024. They're up by 27 points. And of course, there are a lot of Republican representatives in New York. Talk about Mike Lawler up in the Hudson Valley, right? When you see numbers like this, you have to be really worried if you're Mike Lawler, because we're talking about a huge Democratic rebound in New York. And oftentimes, Democratic majorities are built on states like New York, eliminating the few Republicans that actually represent it in the House.
So going from New York, go to California. I know you wanted to look at that too. You've got this is what it's looking like in New York. How about California?
Yeah, okay. California has a ton of Republicans, right? And obviously there's a redistricting where Democrats want to eliminate as many Republicans as possible from the House of Representatives. Take a look here. Kamala Harris, again, she won, but this is actually a relatively small margin for Democrats. She won by 20 points out on the West Coast in the big state of California. But take a look at the 2026 House polling. Again, Democrats, a big rebound. This looks a whole heck of a lot more like 2020.
Okay, so what do you think? And then he's going to talk about Texas after this, Eric. And what do you think? Are we, because of the timidity of the Republican Party, because they don't know how to govern, are they going to lose the majority because they just don't energize their base when they're in power?
Very close to thinking that we were going to get smoked in the midterms. I was listening to a lot of things, and a lot of the concern. I'll be honest with you. The concern, and when I do my show, the political show, I keep the chats open and I watch. Right. And very hardcore MAGA right wing Trump supporters are they're ticked off, Chris. They're mad because there's no perp walks. They're mad at Pam Bondi. They're mad at Kash Patel. They're ticked off Bongino left without finding out if Jeffrey Epstein in fact did hang himself. They're really upset about some of these things. As you get closer to the election, though, I go back to the last couple of elections, and it was the same thing. Trump was going to lose to Kamala Harris. He's going to lose to Hillary Clinton. The numbers were all there, and I realized I think we start to buy into the BS that we're watching on shows like CNN Network and MSNBC, and maybe even spills into Fox a little bit. I think Trump is very powerful, and he hasn't really put his foot on the gas pedal. As you get closer to November, midsummer, late summer, he'll be out rallying, and I think you'll see the polls move the other way. Now, will redistricting actually work for Republicans? Well, if you had Republicans with a spine, it probably would. Indiana was a great example. They should have done it. We'll see what happens with Ohio. I think rhinos could be. If we lose, it'll be. We're going to put it straight in the rhino lap. Absolutely.
Sure enough. By the way, there's a Marquette poll out there. They just talked to folks and said, those who are living comfortably, how many of you would say you're living comfortably? 40% of Americans say they're comfortable right now. That's up 9% from President Trump, for President Trump, and then under Beijing Biden. Then how many of you are just getting by? 45% they're just getting by. That's up 1 point from Beijing Biden. Those who say they're struggling in this economy, That's 15% of Americans, and that's down 9 points from where Beijing Biden was. So by every economic measure, Americans are feeling better about where they are. And what did Carville say? It's the economy, stupid. Last thing I want to talk to you about is the edge. This is something that you've started, and it's something that's I'm also seeing the wisdom in some of the other things I do is parlaying outside of general hardcore politics. What are you doing on the edge?
So, Chris, about 6 months ago, politics is so toxic. I've been doing it for 20 years, and it's my blood. I've done it forever. But I wanted to do something different. And so I started The Edge, and it was all about, so I come from a baseball background. I was originally a professional baseball player. I blew my rotator cuff out. It was an arena. It's one of the hardest arenas to become a pro at, baseball. And I had to go to somewhere else. I went to Wall Street, and I made it. I was Trader of the Year in April 2006 with no money in my account, zero money, built it up to a huge amount. I was a very good trader. And then Fox called and said, come on over and let's go do TV. And I did that for 12 years. I've been in the hardened, fiery arenas, right? And I wanted to do something that was male-oriented, geared towards men. We're about 2/3 of our audience is male. Performance, motivation, getting knocked down. One of the sound bites you play in your open is, I don't know who it was, a guy said, it doesn't matter how hard you hit people, it's how hard you can take the hit. And that's really what we do. We talk to Brett Favre, we talk to Ray Lewis, Tito Ortiz, talk to the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, about staying motivated after you get knocked down. What makes you get back up? And that is the edge. The people who stay down, they're going to stay down forever. But the ones that pick themselves up off the canvas and then not only just survive, they thrive, tapping into what that is. And guess what? We opened this 4.5 months ago. We've got something like 11,000 subscribers, which is top 1/10 of 1% on YouTube.
Wow.
700,000 views, 25,000 watch hours. It's exploding. It's an untapped arena. And for me, it's just something that I've had 3 arenas to forge this knowledge. I'm just trying to share it and talk about it, and people really are responding to it. But thank you for mentioning it.
No worries. And you know that the guy that's in my open is Sly Stallone playing Rocky Balboa. And remember when he made the movie, Balboa, when he made that comeback, he's an older guy, owned the restaurant, Adrian's dead, and he wanted to fight one more fight in an exhibition fight. And he was talking to his son, who was like, Pop, why are you doing this? And he was talking to his son and giving him a life lesson. And that's what he said. Life's not about how hard you hit. It's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. There's a message. There's a message there. Absolutely.
That's the essence of the edge. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. But you would love it, brother. I think you would love it. Anyone that wants to, thrive in a pretty chaotic world, it's the place to go.
Name is Eric Bolling, folks. He is the host of Bolling. He's the host of The Edge. He is a best-selling New York Times author and a good friend, somebody I'm proud to call a friend. Buddy, thank you very much for the visit. I really appreciate it.
Feelings mutual, my friend.
All right.